Hi, this is Tom Kessler with Kessler Financial Group, and today we're going to talk about our marketing system called Rolling and Rollovers. In order to do that, first of all, I'd like to give you a little bit of background about who we are. Kessler Financial Group is an independent marketing organization located in Northern Virginia, a suburb of Washington, D.C. We're about 30 miles west of our nation's capital. And we're a little bit different than a lot of other organizations you may be familiar with. First of all, we are independent, fiercely independent. A lot of our competitors out there are owned by insurance companies. We are family owned and have been since our inception. Our specialties are annuities, life insurance, long-term care, and securities. Especially in the annuity side, our focus has really for about the last 8 or 9 years been on the distribution side of the curve as opposed to accumulation. Although we do that quite well, we've been doing distribution planning, distribution strategies for quite a while, where it's become fairly well accepted recently with the baby boomers marching into retirement. Deal with about 5,000 independent agents all over the United States, registered reps, insurance agents, RIAs across the country. And we also supervise about 100 registered reps through our securities department. And that makes us really very unique in that we're one of the only organizations in the country that is both, really all three of the above, independent, family-owned, national in scale, and intimately familiar with both the insurance and the securities business. You'll notice if you call our office, our phone is answered "Welcome home." We actually mean that. That is our motto. We realize that independent producers have a very lonely job lots of times, and they like to know that they're part of a family, and everything we do around here is family oriented. What we are not is a spreadsheet organization. We don't want to have every product from every carrier. The Walmart approach works for some. For us, we'd much rather be very narrow and very deep with the carrier relationships. So we spend a lot of time focusing on who are the right carriers, who do we really want to do business with, and who can we continue to do business with for the next 20 years. As I mentioned earlier, we understand both fixed and securities business. So if somebody calls here for advice, lots of times we'll tell them, hey, this is not an annuity sale. This may be a mutual fund sale. This may be a managed money type of sale. We will give advice that's the right advice for the client, as opposed to try and fix everything with our favorite products. Also very strong in case management. I'd like to say we invented the case management process in the annuity world. We've been doing case management on annuities for almost 25 years. That means that the more we touch a piece of business, the shorter the turnaround time, and obviously the quicker you get paid. We talk a little bit about first of all, the paradigm shift in the way prospecting used to be done and it should be done today. In the old days, prospecting was like a funnel. You do direct mail or whatever you're going to do. You're going to put a lot of people in the top of the hopper, not having a lot of profiling going in the top, and what you're looking for is people coming out the bottom. And in today's world, we believe that any prospecting system, at least for somebody in the financial services industry, should be more of a pipeline. Identify the type of client that is ideal for your business and work your way backwards so that you can create an actual pipeline so you get a continuous flow of identical and qualified prospects. Again, in the old days, that would focus, reps would typically focus on one prospecting method. That could be I do seminars, or I do direct mail, or I do client events. Today, we really believe that advisors should have anywhere from 6 to 8 robust prospecting programs all running concurrently. And that's for a lot of reasons. We talk to clients about diversifying their assets so that they're protected no matter what happens in the marketplace. That's one of the reasons that we think you got to have multiple prospecting programs running concurrently. If, for example, you're doing seminars in Florida and for some reason Florida says you can't do seminars anymore, you're essentially out of business. So what we like to see is people having multiple programs running concurrently, and that could be maybe I'm doing seminars, or I've got a referral system running, or I've got I'm working with business owners, or running rolling and rollovers, or whatever. That multiple pronged approach works extremely well, insulates your practice, and they tend to feed from each other at the same time. So I'll give you a little bit of background of where this whole prospecting system came from, and I would encourage you to make up, create your own story. I call mine the Nora story, because you're going to use it over and over again within the marketing of this program. About 10 years ago, we had hired quite a few new employees for our firm. A lot of them were young guys and gals that in their early 20s, and I contacted the advisor who set up our 401k plan. At that point, it was I think it was with Transamerica, if I'm not mistaken. And we called the advisor and said, "Hey, can you come by, do a re-enrollment meeting for all of our new employees?" And I couldn't get him to come by, and the more I thought about it, the more it made sense to me was that if we've got a half a dozen 20-somethings, talking to them about putting money into a 401k plan, even if you could get them to put money away, it wasn't worth it to him to drive across a couple of states to get here to enroll 4 or 5 new 20-somethings who might be putting away $25 a week. So that was a kind of an aha moment to me. I should have known better. One thing led to another. We ended up going to a totally new plan, self-administered plan, and we did our enrollment meeting, and everybody got set up. And one of the new employees was my nephew. So I was talking to him over lunch one day, and I said, congratulations. I'm glad you got in the 401k plan. I think it's a great idea. How'd you allocate your money? And he told me that he put it all in the money market account. And in my mind, I'm saying, what are you thinking? But then what came out of my mouth is, well, that's interesting. Why did you do that? And he said, well, that's what Nora told me to do. Now, at that time, our office manager, HR lady, was a gal named Nora. Sweet lady, older gal, very conservative. And he had asked her, how should I allocate it? And she said, put it in the money market account. And that's, for her, that was good advice. For him, it was horrible advice, but that's what he did. And then I kind of scratched my head and I said, well, how'd you set up your beneficiaries? And he said, I named my children as my beneficiaries. He was married, obviously. And I said, well, why would you name kids as a beneficiary? In my mind, I'm going, that's stupid, because you want to have a spouse as a beneficiary because they can step right into the plan, you can preserve tax deferral, do all that kind of stuff. And I said, well, why would you name your kids as beneficiaries? And the answer again was, that's what Nora told me to do. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that Nora was on her second marriage. She had an adult child from her first marriage. Her husband was doing well, and she wanted to make sure that her daughter was taken care of if something happened to her. So Nora's choice of her daughter as her child as a beneficiary made sense, but her recommendation to this other employee that his children should be beneficiaries was totally bad. So that really got me thinking, and I was talking to our computer tech, who at the time had been with us a short period, maybe a couple of months, and I was kind of walking my way through this whole process and what's going on with 401ks and advice and stuff. And he said, well, you mean like, when I came to work for you guys, I rolled over my 401k into the Kessler Financial Group plan. And I'm saying, why the heck would you do something like that? You're better off rolling it into into an IRA where you've got lots of choices. You can put a floor on it. You can do all kinds of stuff. And again, the answer was, that's what Nora told me to do, because she knew that a new hire could roll their 401k into the plan. The fact that you could didn't mean it was the right thing to do. That was the advice she gave. And at the time, in our office, Nora's office was right next to mine, so people would walk right past my door with the certified financial planner plaque on the door and go to Nora and ask advice. And that was the inception of Rolling and Rollovers. I said, if that's going on under my nose in our business, I can imagine what's happening in other businesses across the country. So we started down this path of how do we provide good advice, and who do we provide that to? So take it a couple steps down the road. Back in 2006, the first of about 76 million baby boomers began the transition into retirement. It's the first generation in history to have had access to a 401k throughout their entire working career. And over the next 8 years alone, we're expecting about $2.5 trillion to be moved into IRAs. The problem is that as an industry, for the last 30 years, we have been focusing on accumulation. And as advisors and as clients, everybody that's in the industry has been trying to grow money. The difference is that as our clients start to make the transition from accumulation to distribution, the tools necessary, the products that we use, the advice we give, even sometimes the companies or the carriers we choose to affiliate with, all have to be different because it's a different process. And if you use accumulation planning to do distributions, you're doomed to failure. Those of you that have seen my perfect storm story are familiar with that. If you haven't, I encourage you to ask me for that. So we, as an industry, we've done a pretty good job teaching our advisors how to accumulate wealth, but we've done a horrible job teaching them how to do distributions appropriately. And the same with our clients. They've worked for 30 years or so, putting money away, getting a paycheck every couple of weeks. In a 401k, when they retire, now they're going to have a very big lump sum of cash. They don't have a clue how to turn that lump sum of cash into systematic, safe, dependable income for life. And they really need advice on how to get that done. So our target with Rolling and Rollovers is those seniors entering that retirement red zone. That's really the 5 years before through 5 years after retirement. That's where they face the most significant risk. If you think about clients of yours or even yourself back in 2008, during the market decline, a 40% loss in some of these portfolios meant that a lot of people that were hoping to retire in 2008, 2009 had to work another 10 years, 9 or 10 years just to get back to where they were. So that planning is important. Today, retirees can be looking at about 30 years or more in retirement. Again, our parents, our grandparents may have had a relatively short retirement, but with changes in our healthcare system, advances in medicine, people are looking at 30, 35, maybe 40 years of unemployment, and we've got to make a lump sum of cash last for an unknown period of time. This is just a visual of the baby boomers, and as you can see, from 1946 through 1964, about 76 million babies were born, and everywhere they've landed in our economy, they've changed everything they've touched. And this is the group of people that are now marching into retirement. So let's take a look at a typical what's going on within the 401k industry. So this is Loudoun County. This is the county that we live in. We went into our database system and said, okay, we'd like to find out what's going on in our county alone, 401k plans, to find contribution plans in Loudoun County, state of Virginia, and say, just tell me what we've got with plans over $100,000. What do we have? What are we working with there? And we came up with a report that said there's 127 plans in Loudoun County. Total assets about $852 million in the plans combined. And the important thing with this is the payments to participants. This is the amount of money that these plans, and again, this data is coming out of the 5,500 forms that these plans file every year. Last year alone, almost $71 million hemorrhaged from those plans. That's payments to participants. That's retirees, quit, fired, disabled, died, whatever. This is money coming out of the plans, almost $71 million. That's an annual distribution rate of about 8.3. What we have found nationwide is our average is anywhere from about 5 to 8% comes out of the plans every single year. And what I'll ask advisors, if I'm talking to an advisor in Loudoun County, for example, I'd say if $71 million hit the streets under your nose last year, how much of it did you capture? And I just get a kind of a doe-eyed look. And what they start thinking is, when you look at it, the biggest transactions that most advisors do are 401k rollovers. But historically, they're all pretty much accidental. You do a seminar and somebody comes in and you're talking about their assets and they pull out a statement from an old employer. What do I do with this old 401k? They don't have a clue. And they tend to be pretty big transactions. The trouble is there's no way to directly prospect for Harry when he leaves the plan. There's no list of people leaving businesses or people retiring. You can buy lists of people turning age 65, but it's not really telling you what's going on with their 401k. So start thinking about, how do we tap that $70 million marketplace just in Loudoun County? Picked another county. This is Anaheim, California. Same thing, 401k plans just in the city of Anaheim with assets over $100,000, 346 plans, almost $700 million in assets, about 40 million payments to participants. Annual distribution rate in Anaheim is about 5.83%. So this is money that's coming out of these plans and will continue to come out of these plans at an accelerating rate for the next 15 to 20 years. Big numbers. So how do you start tapping that marketplace? So this is just a rough example of the type of data that's available out there, and we provide all of this to anybody participating in our plan at no charge. But you can see the name of the company. It's a defined contribution, defined benefit plan, total participants in the plan, total employees, those that are highly compensated, the date of the plan, total assets, payments to participants. We actually have about 200 fields of data for each one of these plans, including contact people, who the trustee of the plan is, who the main contact is. So there's an awful lot of information available in these on these plans. As you can see with the highlighted one here, you've got a business with about 57 employees, $12 million in the plan, $1.2 million went out last year. And that, keep in mind, the person that's driving this $1.2 million out, completing the paperwork, knowing the people are leaving, that's the Nora in Moore and Rowan and Dorsey. That's the Nora, that's that person. And again, going back to the Nora story, when we set up our plan, really the big aha moment to me was I'd seen this well-meaning but bad advice being given out. And I realized what had happened was that when we set up the plan, with myself being the trustee, I signed all the paperwork. I had this big pile of stuff, and I took it all off of my desk, walked into her office, dropped it on her desk, and said, handle it, and turned around and left. And Nora may know HR, she may know how to do payroll or pay bills, do all that type of stuff. She doesn't have a clue about the complicated process of administering, from a company standpoint, a 401k plan. She doesn't understand beneficiary designation. She doesn't understand asset allocation. She doesn't understand the pros and cons of target date funds. Things like in-service distributions or 72Ts. She doesn't have a clue with that type of stuff. And she needs help. She doesn't know where to get it. And the guy that sold the plan typically isn't the one that's going to give you that kind of help, because they make their money taking over the assets in the plan, and they're off to find another plan they can take over the assets. So there's not a lot of really good advice going on at that level. Unfortunately, the trustee, which is typically the owner of the company, the trustee of the plan has a fiduciary duty to educate his employees or her employees on the plan. And that's a little bit more than just sticking a brochure in a pay statement once in a while. So trustees have personal liability in the event that somebody invests incorrectly or does things the wrong way. An employee can go back and sue the company and sue them personally for not providing the correct education and the correct training on the plan. So let's take a look at the whole rolling and rollovers idea. The concept is unlike, say, seminars, for example, which I would equate to maybe planting a crop of corn. You'll send out your invitations, you'll invite people, you'll get them in there, you'll do your presentations, you'll schedule your meetings, you'll make your money, and then you start this feast-famine process where you work through all of your clients or all of your prospects, and then you go out and do another seminar, and you're starving until they start coming in. So it's you plant this crop of corn, you eat the corn, you starve, and then you have to plant another crop of corn and start all over again. Rolling and rollovers is not a lead system. It is a marketing plan that takes a lot of time to set up. So I equate it to building an orchard. So you would get your businesses and be like planting trees, and then over time you're going to nurture each of these businesses. You're going to water, you're going to prune, and eventually once your orchard becomes mature, and that may take some time, may take a year or more, there's going to be a handful of businesses within your orchard, or a handful of trees that are going to bear fruit year after year after year with very little work on your part. So the goal is to identify the NORAs in your zip code or county that you can build this type relationship with, and then anytime there's a triggering event, NORA can refer that person to you. That's what you're looking to do. And the goal is really 5 different sales opportunities. The most obvious and typically the one that people are going after is the separation of employment. When somebody leaves a business, they're retired, they quit, they're fired, that's a triggering event, and that triggering event allows them to roll over their 401k, or to do technically a direct transfer of their 401k into an IRA. That's what most people are looking at, but there's other opportunities there. Another one is a new hire. Like our tech guy, he was a new hire to the business, but Nora didn't know that it was actually a better deal for him to take his old 401k and roll it into an IRA where he's got millions of choices. He can put safety nets in there, have guarantees, do all kinds of stuff. He was a lot better doing that than rolling his money into our plan, which limited him to maybe 15 or 20 different options and no guarantee accounts. The third one is in-service distributions. Most of the newer plans today have an in-service distribution option, which allows those individuals, typically over 59 and a half, to pull all or a portion of their 401k assets out of the plan, roll it over into an IRA without a triggering event. In-service distributions are on about, I would guess, 70 to 80% of the plans today. The newer ones will have it automatically. It's a relatively easy thing to amend a plan to allow in-service distributions, but if you think about it, that the NORAs of the business and the business owners are typically the more senior employees. they're typically the ones that are over 59 and a half, and they're also typically the ones with the biggest account balances, and they're the ones with the biggest risk in the event of another market correction. So the idea of working with the business executives that have the larger chunks in there and saying, hey, can you make it through another 2008, 2009? Why don't we peel some of this off, get it in a place where you've got a floor under it? That could be annuities with income riders, fixed annuities, index annuities, variable annuities with riders. How can we protect this asset and make sure you can retire as you plan to do that? The fourth place we look is what we call the Klingons. The Trekkies out there will get a kick out of this, but the Klingons are those people that used to work for the business but are no longer there. They left. But their money, their 401k assets, are still clinging on to the company plan, which means that Nora has to do the paperwork to administer those. They're paying fees on a regular basis to, again, report on this. And they also have fiduciary liability on that. Even though these people are gone, let me show you how to get rid of these Klingons and save you some money and save you some headaches. And then finally, if you do this job really well, and you're in touch with her on a regular basis, and we'll show you how that works, Nora at some point is going to come back to you and say, hey, this is you've been in here and helped me with my employees more than the guy that set this thing up. Can you just take over the plan and you can become a plan person? That's up to you, but absolutely. I'm not sure it's something I'd want to do, but I've got resources. If you don't want to do it, we have resources that can help you do that job. So there's really 5 potential sales in this process, as long as you are aware of them and as long as Nora is educated to understand where they live. So here's the pipeline. Here's the process. You choose a location. Typically it's a county or a city. A lot of it depends on how concentrated the population and really the businesses are. But we'll start with a list of companies, anywhere from 200 to 300 businesses. And we'll go through the database, give you that list at no cost. And then the first step is to clean up your list. Take a look at the list of businesses, similar to the list that I showed you a few minutes ago. And if these are businesses in your backyard, there's a pretty good chance you know a lot of people on this list. So the cleanup consists of multiple steps. One would be identifying the people that you know, and rather than kind of running them through the generic dear occupant type of system, you pick up the phone and say, hey, Harry, I respect your opinion as a business owner. I am looking at a new marketing system, and I really need some feedback. Can I buy you lunch and just talk to you about it a little bit, and can you be pretty critical and tell me what you think? And then you go in and have lunch with him, talk about the Nora story, and he'll say, that's great, and can we do it? And that's fine, I guess so. But that's step one. Step two is you look at the list and you go through there and pull out some of the prospects. For example, in this list, you're looking through here, and you go down like Pablo Pareto here, profit sharing plan. There's one participant. It's a doctor. There's only one employee. Although he may not be a bad prospect, he is not a good prospect for this program. Or Melvin Sterling, MD. Again, another profit sharing plan here. There's only 3 employees. There's $800,000 in the plan, but there's not a lot of turnover there. $11,000 a year. That may not be the kind of people you want to work rolling in rollovers, because what you're looking for are businesses where there is activity going on all the time. So those would be the types of businesses we would probably focus with and maybe delete or pull it outside of our marketing group, the doctor's offices and the accountants and things where there's not turnover within the plan. So we would clean up the list. then send an approach letter. And the approach letter is our shot across the bow, and we provide all this documentation to you. And the letter would be sent to Nora, and the letter would say, paraphrased here, "Dear Nora, you don't know me, but we're in the process of about 76 million baby boomers marching into retirement, and we've done a really good job teaching people how to accumulate money within their 401ks, but we've done a woefully inadequate job teaching them what to do with that money when they retire and how to do distributions. And it takes a specialist to do distribution planning appropriately. And I would like to apply for that job with your business. And if it's okay to you, or it's okay with you, on a regular basis, I'm going to send you some letters and articles that I think will help you do your job a little bit better. If you think these are helpful, just let me know. If you'd like articles on other information, just let me know. And if there's any way I can help you or any of your employees in distribution planning or retirees or new hires, give me a call. I mean, it's a little bit more focused than that, but that's basically the approach. And she's probably scratching her head saying, I have no idea what he's talking about, but that's step one. And then step two, and this is what makes the program unique, is after we've cleaned up the list, we're going to build binders. Little 3-ring binders, little white ones with a clear sheet slip cover. And we give you all the tools to put a nice cover page in there and put stuff inside of it. But we're going to follow up in person. So we'll send the approach letter, and then we're going to build about 200 binders. And we're going to just walk into Nora's office one day without an appointment and say, look, I know I don't have an appointment. I'm just passing through. Is Nora available? Hey, Nora, Tom Kessler, I sent you that letter a week or two ago about helping you and your staff with distributions from your 401k. I just wanted to introduce myself, shake your hand, and I brought this binder along because I'm going to be sending you a lot of articles, and they're all going to be 3-hole punched, and they're things that you can use with your employees. Feel free to copy them and put them in their pay stubs, but I wanted you to have a place to put all of these articles because we find a lot of the HR people that I work with like to refer back to them, so I just wanted to drop this off in person. And I brought a dozen cookies or a dozen donuts or something for the office, so thanks for your time. See you later. Really short, you're probably in and out in 2 minutes. And the purpose of that is really 3 things. Number one, put a face and a name together so there's a personal connection there. You're giving them the binder, which is a place to put all of this stuff you're going to be sending them over the next year. And if you think about it and look around your own office, you've probably got binders in there that you never have thrown away. Nobody throws away a binder. It's crazy, but they don't throw it away. And so if she has a binder and she's going to be getting mail from you every 2 weeks for the next year, and every time she gets that article, she's going to read the article. It's already going to be on 3-hole punch paper. Maybe she copies and puts it in pay stubs, maybe not. Puts it in the binder. She's seeing your name, your contact information 24, 26 times over the next year. You're going to stay top of mind aware with her. That's the important thing of the binder. It sounds corny, but it works. And the cookies or the donuts or whatever you bring along makes an impression that's a little bit different. It's like the old Lone Ranger, who was that masked man? That's the idea. You want them scratching their head saying, I'm not sure what's going on here, but it's interesting. And then you begin the drip process. And the drip process is a year-long campaign of mailings to Nora and all of her 200 contemporaries around town. And about every 2 weeks, there's a pre-built letter that's all in our program, Word format that you can edit and put on your letterhead. And the letter is an introduction, and then there's a generic article on a specific topic for that week. And for example, the article could be how to save for college and for retirement at the same time. And it might be 5 or 6 pages long. We provide all that to you. The letter may read something like, Dear Nora, this week's article is on how to save for college and retirement at the same time. We find a lot of families with children at home want to be able to help their kids with college, but they don't want to do it at the expense of their own retirement. The first step in the process is being able to calculate what these numbers really are. And we have tools and software that can help you do that. If we could be of any assistance to any of your employees, have them give us a call. And that's the cover letter with a call to action. There's always a call to action. We have the software that can help you do this, or if you'd like to hear more about this or whatever, there's always a call to action in there with each one of these letters. So the goal is that of the 200, you'll probably get some people that may throw it in the trash. You might get some people that will put it in the binder, hopefully. And then you'll get some that'll be a lot more proactive about it and say, hey, this is good stuff, and put it in, give it to all their employees, a copy and give it to all their employees. That's what you want. In the article itself, we encourage you, and we'll show you how to set up a footer in there with all your contact information so that besides Nora seeing your contact information every couple of weeks, every employee at the firm will do that. Another thing we recommend that some of our advisors do is reverse engineer this. If you are beginning a rolling and rollovers program, go back through your existing client base and look for those employees that may have that may be executives at a local manufacturing plant or a local company, where you can go to them personally and say, hey, can I pick your brain? Let me show you something that we're doing. And again, that Nora story, if you can kind of get that down for yourself, even if you have to create one, tell them about the Nora story and how it works and why you're doing this and why you're so passionate about helping people with retirement planning, because they really need the help. And use your existing employees to gain favorable access to the Noras at their firm. If you're in the securities world or you're writing life insurance, any place where either your client agreement or an application has an employer name on it, you'll have all of that information already in place. This is a little bit more detailed view of the kind of data that's available for every business. You can see the contact people here in Orange County, phone number, the business code. They're a construction firm. They got $6 million in assets, how much is flowing into the plan, income for the plan, how it's administered, federal ID number, the plan year end. That's a December planned year end. Most of these are December, but sometimes you'll see March 31st or June 30th. Keep in mind that the data that's being provided by the 5500 form is as of their last filing, which could be more than a year ago. So just keep that in mind. Expenses of the plan. Here's the payments to participants, $91,000. So that's the type of data that's available in the plan, but we have all the contact information right there. So what do you expect? Why would you do something like this? Well, if you start with a business or a list of businesses, say 300 in the list, and you go through and you do your pruning. You get rid of the doctor's offices where there's only 2 participants, there's not a lot of turnover. You start out with the people that you know and just kind of work with them hand in hand. But maybe you get down to maybe 200 businesses, and you start dropping mail to the Noras. There's 25 mailings a year. It's going to cost you about $5,000, maybe a little bit more today with some of the increases in postage costs. But $5,000 in cost to run rolling and rollovers for an entire year. That's about the cost to do one client seminar. Probably less than the cost to do one client seminar. And if only 10% of the orchard, say 20 people, or in this case 40 people, or 20 people, I mean, make sale or yield fruit quarterly. Let me start that again. If only 10% of the orchard yields fruit quarterly, 10% of 200, so that's 20 Noras start giving you leads. How would you like to have 20 HR people in your county referring prospects to you all the time. So if you get 80 leads a quarter and you only close half of them, you should close more than that, but you only close half of them, that's 40 sales. Average 401k rollover is a little bit dated. This is saying 70,000. Right now we're seeing in excess of 100,000. But if you picked up $3 million from a prospecting program, and that program allows you to pick up $3 million every year going forward, because you're going to have people leaving the plans all the time, does that make sense? Now, what I will tell you, and full disclosure here, most of the people that try rolling and rollovers will fail. And the reason they fail is they don't follow through. I've been in the business going on 35 years. I believe in knowing your customer. My customer, the great salespeople of the world, are usually horrible administrators and have the retention span of a gnat. And because of that, rolling and rollovers seems like an awful lot of work to them. And they want to make a sale tomorrow. They don't want to plant orchards. They want to plant something that's going to, they want to go hunt and kill something today. So what they'll do is they'll try it. They'll do one letter. They'll mail out 20 packages or whatever, and they'll get bored and they'll go off and do something else. If you're that kind of person, don't waste your time. This program is not for you. But if you really are passionate about helping the retirees and getting that pipeline built so that you can have a consistent flow of prospects that match your parameters, this program works extremely well. If you have the capacity and you have somebody on your staff that can do a lot of the legwork, it makes it even better. If you have a real good administrative assistant that can do the merge letters and can do all of the prep work and build the kits and do all that, in fact, it's actually makes sense to hire somebody to do that if you're really serious about it. And you insert yourself with the delivery of the binders and some phone calls, that's where it makes sense to you. So the program gets kicked off. You start dripping the letters and the articles on 200 NORAs, and about a month or so into this plan, then you start making phone calls. And hey, Nora, this is Tom Kessler again. Are you enjoying the articles? Is there anything you'd like to see that maybe you haven't seen so far? We can make sure we put it into our pipeline. And by the way, I'm doing a luncheon for about 6 or 7 of your peers at Outback Steakhouse next Tuesday at noon. I would love to have you join us. Nothing formal, no presentation. Just like to get acquainted with some of the other people in the area that do the same job that you do. Share some things that might help you do it a little bit better. Lunch is on me. I'll have you in and out in an hour. Can you join us? That luncheon is where you close the sale. If you can get half a dozen Noras around a table and tell the Nora story the same way that I did, and you get to the point where where I say I took that whole pile of paper, walked down to my office, dropped it on Nora's desk and said, handle it, every head around the table will be shaking because they're all feeling the same pain. The same thing has happened to them. If you can get them to that point, our goal at that meeting, we actually give you talking points for the meeting. Not a presentation, but just talking points. These are the things you want to get across to them over lunch. Is why beneficiary designations are so important, and asset allocation and contributions into the plan, and what is an in-service distribution? Do they understand those things? You want to be a resource to them without being a salesperson, if that makes sense. So that's the goal. If you can get them to that luncheon meeting, what you're going to do at that meeting is you're going to teach them how to make you referable. So the whole idea is throughout the process, you just keep building a bigger and bigger orchard. So you start with one zip code or one county, Loudoun County, you go through the system, you get the system in process, and if you have an administrative assistant and a good database system, you can just merge these letters, pop them in the mail, and that's going out continuously all the time. Once you work your way through an orchard and you've got 20 or so that you've got that kind of relationship with, then pick another zip code and do the process all over again and just keep building more and more orchards all the way through. There's really no limit to how far down that path you can go. So the system is turnkey. We'll provide all of the qualified plans in your area. Typically 200, maybe 300 plans is where we'll start. We give you all the instructions. We've got templates for all of the binders, the forms, the articles, the cover letters. Everything is built for an entire year of touches. So that's the story behind the Rolling and Rollovers program. Hopefully it gives you a better idea of what it is and how it works. I encourage you to give us a call to find out more if you'd like to participate, or if you're already participating. Hopefully it gives you a little bit more background. Our phone number here is 800-699-0299. Again, I'm Tom Kessler. I thank you for your time and wish you lots of luck with Rolling and Rollovers.